I don't think you can overstate the value of a first impression, because that first impression may stick with that person for the rest of your relationship with them. So let's talk to an expert on how to make a good first impression. He is a former Marine, and he is also the author of the book, The Emotional Marine, 68 Mental Toughness and Emotional Intelligence Secrets to Make Anyone Instantly Like You. That's what we want. Eric Rittmeyer, welcome back to the show. Thank you for joining us.
John, it's always so awesome, man. I love your show. I love being back with you. Thanks for having me.
I love your energy. We were talking during the commercial break, and I said, you know, kids, adults as well, need to learn how to make a good first impression. It's so important. I said, but it's kind of like cheating. And you said something that really resonates. You said it's not cheating if, please continue.
It's not cheating if you're being your true, authentic self, which is so critically important about all this. When we talk about tips for connecting with people and making great first impressions, at the core of all this is I'm making an assumption that you're being authentic and you're being sincere. If you're not, you got to take a step back and work on that first before you try to impress someone.
So is the goal here, Eric, is the goal when you leave the room, that person says, wow, that person impacted me. I feel good about the short conversation that we had. Is that what this is all about?
That's a piece of it, John. And what you just talked about is one of the topics I talk a lot about, which is called effective presence. And effective presence is the ability to make somebody else feel good about themselves, even if us internally aren't feeling good. So it's when you communicate with that person, they leave the room and you're like, I just feel good. Like, I feel great about myself. What is it? These people kind of have that it factor, but on the opposite side of the coin, there can also be negative effective presence where when those people come into the room, they totally drain you and you're not unhappy to see them leave, unfortunately.
So the objective then is to connect and connect in a positive way. So I'm going to let you take over from here. How can we do that?
Yeah, one of the places we start, it's funny because people hear this, they're like, Eric, this sounds a little bit tough, right? I talk about mastering the art of gossip. And when people hear that, they think like, oh, gossiping's so bad, Eric. Why would you tell people to master the art of gossiping? Because normally it is bad. A lot of times when we hear gossip, we think of negativity. And the issue with it is when we talk bad about somebody, the person we're talking to automatically links those same traits to us. So if you and I are talking, John, and I say negative things about somebody else, you're going to view me in a negative light. Well, if we flip the coin and I now talk to you and I say positive things to you about someone else, you now view me in a positive light. So when I talk about gossip, I'm talking about saying nice things about people behind their backs.
Ooh, I like this. Okay, so whenever you meet someone, especially if it's the first impression, there's usually kind of a wall, a little bit of a barrier, Eric. How do you get past that?
Yeah, so when we meet somebody, a lot of times that wall is up because we're just so hypersensitive to what are they going to think about me? How are they going to react? Or what if they really learn this about me? When I talk about removing the walls, what I'm saying is be your true self. Not everybody's going to love you. Not everybody's going to like you. But the one thing you'll normally find is people will appreciate when you're real. If you let that wall down and just be upfront with them, be wide open. And I'm not talking about being vulnerable to the point where you tell them you have stinky feet, but I'm just talking about not allowing yourself to put that barrier up, open up to people, let them know who you truly are. You're going to make great connections.
You also have a tip in your book. You talk about being able to give and receive compliments. How do you do that and remain authentic? I really do this because it comes easy to me, is I do look for positives in people, and they have plenty of them. Is that one thing you do, Eric? And then how do you receive compliments in a kind of, I don't know, the correct manner to make that good impression?
Yeah, compliments are so huge, John, and nobody likes to do this, right? For whatever reason, as a society, we feel uncomfortable telling people things that we like about them. Just letting somebody know that we appreciate and respect and really do like this trait in them, whether it be a physical attribute or something about their personality, just letting that person know that we like that about them, that might be the highlight of their day or their month or their year. So giving compliments is important, but equally as important is being able to receive compliments. A lot of times when people say nice things about us, it creates this type of cognitive dissonance where with that person saying nice about us, in the back of our brain, we don't see ourselves in that same light. So if somebody says that I'm good looking, in my brain, I'm like, I'm not good looking. I don't think I'm good looking. They're telling me I'm good looking. So we hear that compliment. And it's like, how do I accept this? So we have to get really good at doing is, number one, giving the compliments. Number two, understanding that beauty's in the eye of the beholder. Somebody says something like about us, accept it and appreciate it and just thank them for it.
Well, let me tell you, Eric, you are darn good looking, just to make that really clear here. If you would. Okay, so meeting a new friend is one thing, but going into a job interview, is another. So how do you come off authentic with someone who is really looking for your, business acumen? He's looking to see how accomplished you are, but you still want to connect. How can we do that?
Yeah, and I talk a lot about this too, right, John? I talk about making connections. So it's not just the impression we're worried about, it's making the connection. So when we're meeting with these people, whether it be a job interview or anyone else, yes, put emphasis on and make certain that you're really trying to, give them that impression. But more important, look for the connection. And what's a great way to do that? I use an acronym called FROM. It's family, recreation, occupation, motivation. When you meet someone, try to find something you have in common with them amongst one of those 4 categories and find a way to connect with them. So as it relates to interviews, let's say, try to find something that when you're talking with them, you're talking about some personal stuff, find things you have in common. But I have to go back to the very core of this. It is critically important that it comes from a place of 100% sincerity and authenticity, because if not, the interview's over, the relationship's over. It's got to come from the heart.
Okay, this all makes perfect sense to me. I've always preached to my sons, Eric, and I want to say, is this a thing of the past? Is it now passé, or is it still good? I've always talked about the value of manners. Talk to me a little bit about, is that something that's gone by the wayside, or do manners still count?
Both things you said, I believe, are accurate, John. Number one, they've gone to the wayside. Number two, they're extremely important. And we refer to manners, we think about yes, sir, and no, ma'am. We assume that's always going to be the case, right? When I talk about manners, I'm talking about giving that person undivided attention, listening with the intent to understand, not with the intent to reply, not being easily distracted, letting them finish their statements, make eye contact with them. In this age of social media, we've gotten away from that personal communication part. The manners thing is so important, because when we respect that person, we give them that undivided attention, it's going to automatically build relationships. They feel like we're going to be someone they can trust.
Eric, I think you'd be a perfect speaker, and I know you do this, but a public speaker, or speak to a group of salesmen, saleswomen, executives. So for folks who may be watching now and saying, I wish my team knew some of these things that Eric is now passing along, how would they get a hold of you? How can they hire you?
John, you're the best. Thank you. I appreciate that. Yeah, I do deliver a program. I call it Mental Toughness Bootcamp. My website's best. It's mentaltoughnesspeaker.com. We're starting to do a lot more live programs now, so maybe we'll actually come out to individual offices. Then I'm all over social media on Facebook and Instagram and LinkedIn. I really appreciate that. Thank you.
Eric, you always make a great impression. Thank you for joining us. I really appreciate you, my man.
Likewise, John. Can't wait to see you again. Thanks for having me.
All right, and there's his book there on the screen. Again, I highly recommend it. He is an expert. He is the emotional Marine, Eric Rittmeyer. Okay, coming up here, Shirley's Way is an organization that makes sure that if you have a loved one who gets stricken with cancer,